Hello people, let's visit the Final Four again. Here we have Mount Hood at 11,250 feet, Mount Adams at 12,281 feet, Mount Rainier at 14,417 feet, Mount St. Helens at 8,363 feet. They are in their oriented correct positions instead of flip-flopped in this photograph. You'll notice that Adams and Helen are real near centered is Rainier. It's centered in the actual mileage and it's centered in the actual photograph. Okay, now you'll also notice in this photograph that all of these mountains you have four mountains that are triangulated together. Mount Hood right here is connected to Adams, Mount Hood to Rainier, Mount Hood to Mount St. Helen. We have Mount Adams to Mount Hood, Mount Adams to Mount Rainier, Mount Adams to Mount St. Helens. We have Mount Rainier to Mount Adams. We have Mount Rainier to Mount St. Helens. We have Mount Rainier to Mount Hood. We have Mount St. Helens to Mount Rainier. We have Mount St. Helens to Mount Adams. And we have Mount St. Helens to Mount Hood. First of all, let's remember that Mount St. Helens is the shortest of all of the mountains, rolling in at 8,363 feet. That is a difference of 2,887 feet lower than Hood, yet she is appearing to be higher. What the elevation in this photograph is, let's get into the schematics of it, because you can go right here at Peter West Carey Photography and he's got this picture just for you guys to go ahead and tear apart. So anyway, let's look at this for a real quick minute. You have Mount Hood to Mount St. Helens is 62 miles. In 62 miles, there is 2,562 foot of curvature drop. The elevation difference between Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood is 2,887 feet higher. You take off that curvature drop from the positive altitude over St. Helens. Remember, St. Helens is out in the distance there too. And you end up with 325 feet of Mount St. Helens should be exposed out here in the distance. Over here you have Mount Hood to Mount Adams. The distance is 58 miles. Mount Adams is 1,031 feet above Hood. The distance with the curvature drop of 58 miles is 2,242 miles, so only 1,211 feet of Mount Hood on the sphere Earth should be exposed. Right here we have Mount Rainier to Mount Hood. The difference in the elevations of Mount Hood's 11,250 feet and Mount Rainier's 14,417 feet is 3,167 feet. You take off the 7,072 feet for the curvature drop in the distance acquired over 103 miles, and you end up with 3,905 feet of this mountain that should be shown in the distance out here. But that's not what we're even near to what we're seeing here. So let's go into this just a little bit deeper, because now we understand that Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams is 34 miles apart. And just looking at that, it's the only calculation that didn't work in. But we have a realization that Mount St. Helens is 8,363 feet. Mount Rainier is 14,417 feet, with the difference being positive to Mount Rainier being 6,054 feet above Mount St. Helens. And then we have the understanding that Mount Adams is 12,281 feet. Mount Rainier, 14,417. It is 2,136 feet higher in elevation than Adams. So on this level Earth right here, you will notice right here, this green line is level to Adams. And that green line is level. The upper one is level to Rainier. The purple one is level to Rainier. And on the Mount St. Helens, it's level to there. So now with the difference of the mountains and everything we have gathered on our information, with Mount Rainier being 2,136 feet higher in elevation than Mount Adams, than in this photograph right here, that is what that distance is. And the same applies to here. We have established that Mount Rainier, the elevation of the peak is 6,054 feet above Mount St. Helens peak being here, Mount Rainier being here. So this distance now becomes 6,054 feet between there and there, and 2,136 feet between here and there. Now you throw in your curvature drop, and Mount St. Helens to Rainier being 50 miles is 1,666 feet. You take that off the elevation of what we are on a plane and roll it into your radius for your sphere, and this elevation of space right here now becomes 4,388 feet. On the same token, over here on the Adams and Rainier side, you take in the distance of 47 miles and you have 1,472 feet of curvature drop, which leaves the difference of Mount Rainier and Mount Adams at this distance only to be 664 feet. By scale, everything is correct. Now on the sphere, this distance right here again is 4,388 feet. And this distance here on that same sphere, according to the mathematics, is 664 feet. And we know that that scale, that is way off, no matter how much compression you have in there of the photograph. But yet, if you take this elevation difference of 6,054 feet between the top of Mount St. Helens and the top of Rainier being right here, and you take the elevation difference of 2,136 feet between the top of Rainier and the top of Adams over here, that being 2,000 feet in relation to that being 6,000 feet is a lot more observable of the reality of how things would calculate out. Now, I also understand that atoms and Rain Helen are both the same distance away, creating this kite pattern deal looking thing here. So any of you ballers care to show how Mount Adams is higher in this picture? I admit that Mount Adams should be out here, as in out, but the top should be down here. And Rainier should be out here also, but the top should be down in here. And Mount St. Helens, in the distance, it should look out there, but it should be down here on the ball. Everything you're looking at in this photograph is on the plane. These two mountains, Adams and Helen, they're on the same plane. One is 58 miles from Hood, the other one is 62 miles from Hood. Helen is 50 miles from Rainier. Adams is 47 miles from Rainier. Hood is 103 miles from Rainier. Adams and Helen are 34 miles apart. Now, what you're seeing right here is not a projection of a flat plane. There is something wrong in your mental ability to reason through the observable facts. What are you saying? That you're just going up higher so you can look down and see more of the ball? Or are you looking out in the level plane and seeing what you get? It is what it is, folks. Truth needs no defense. It only needs presented. Be well and have a good day.